Hello, and thank you for participating in Fiscal Year 2025's Department of Education's Fulbright-Hays Group Projects Abroad Long-Term Technical Assistance webinar. My name is Cory Neal, and I am the GPA Program Manager. Please note that we will be conducting two separate workshops this year, one for GPA short-term projects, and this one, of course, for GPA long-term projects. Both webinars have been pre-recorded and can be accessed through the Department of Education's GPA website or on the International and Foreign Language Education's YouTube channel. So if you are interested in a GPA short-term project, you will need to exit this video and find the webinar for short-term projects only. Okay, today for long-term projects, we are going to talk about the purpose of the GPA long-term program, the competition highlights as referenced in the NIA. We'll discuss the eligibility requirements for applicants and participants. We will discuss project phases for the long-term project, financial provisions, the selection criteria, the selection process, and then I'll go over some application tips and organization tips. Let's talk about the GPA long-term program. What is it? Well, it is designed to improve and develop modern foreign languages and area studies throughout the educational structure of the United States. Long-term advanced overseas intensive language projects are designed to take advantage of the opportunities present in a foreign country that are not present in the United States when providing intensive advanced foreign language training. So unlike the short-term projects where the project can be focused on various aspects of area studies, the GPA long-term projects are specifically designed for intensive language training only. So what is area studies? Area studies, we define it as a program of comprehensive study of the aspects of a society or societies, including the study of their geography, history, culture, economy, politics, international relation, or languages. A couple of facts and figures about the 2025 long-term competition. The estimated range of awards will be anywhere between 50,000 and the maximum, which is 300,000, with an estimated average size of a GPA long-term award being approximately 250,000. And we estimate the number of long-term awards to be around 7. Now, of course, the department is not bound by the estimates in this presentation. These are just figures based off of what we anticipate, but everything really is contingent on our fiscal year 2025 funding. As always, we do have an absolute priority, which is specific geographic regions of the world. So a group project must focus on one or more of the following geographic regions: Africa, Asia, Southeast Asia, and the Pacific, the Western Hemisphere, including Central and South America, Mexico, and the Caribbean, Eastern and Central Europe and Eurasia, and the Near East. Please note that GPA long-term projects that focus on Western Europe will not be reviewed. These countries include Andorra, Austria, Belgium, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Iceland, Ireland, Italy, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, Malta, Monaco, the Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, San Marino, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, and the United Kingdom. Okay, next let's talk about applicant and participant eligibility. Eligible applicants for fiscal year 2025 include institutions of higher ed, state departments of education, private nonprofit educational organizations, and consortia of institutions, departments, and organizations. For participant eligibility, an individual is eligible to participate in a GPA long-term project if he or she is a citizen, national, or permanent resident of the United States, and a student who has successfully completed at least 2 years of academic training in the language to be studied. Participants should be studying in the fields of humanities, social sciences, foreign languages, and other area studies. So before I move on, actually, I want to point out a difference between GPA short-term and GPA long-term as far as participation is concerned is the that academic 2 years of academic training in the language to be studied. Short-term projects do not have this requirement for participants, but long-term projects, participants must have, it's not optional, they must have successfully completed the 2 years of academic training. I do get questions on that quite a bit, so I just wanted to touch on it again. Okay, project features for the Advanced Overseas Intensive Language Projects. The language to be studied must be indigenous to your host country. You must have maximum use of local institutions and host country personnel. The language training must be given at the advanced level. These projects should be designed to take advantage of advanced foreign language training opportunities present in the country of study that may not be available in the United States. And your program must have pre and post language tests. So all of the participants would take a pre-test in their language that they will be studying, and then upon completion of their project in the host country, they will take a post test to, obviously these will demonstrate hopefully an increase in their language skills. Again, those participants must have at least the 2 years, minimum 1 semester language course and 1 course in related area studies, and they must have disciplinary competence. Okay, the minimum time in country for a long-term project is 8 weeks. They can be anywhere from 8 weeks to a year in length. I will say on average, most successful projects tend to hover around the 8-week mark or a semester. You are given 24 months for your grant performance period. So that 24 months includes all of your pre-departure activities, your host country portion of the program, and your post-travel dissemination portion of the project. The minimum amount of participants for GPA long-term project is 12, with 1 project director for 13 individuals. Of course, if you can financially and logistically handle more than 12 participants, you are more than welcome to include more than the 12 minimum. And the maximum grant award, as we mentioned before, is $300,000. Okay, these are the countries that we currently have a travel warning. We highly encourage that you check the State Department's website for alerts and warnings, as GPA applicants proposing to travel to a country that is closed to Fulbright-Hays programs will be disqualified. Again, the countries on this slide are the current countries that are closed to Fulbrighters. However, this list does change from time to time. So if you're unsure about a specific country or you have a question about a specific country, please feel free to contact me at gpa@ed.gov. I will be giving you that email again at the end in case you didn't catch it. All right. Oh, and let me just mention again that Western Europe is unallowable for GPA projects. Again, you have 24 months for your grant performance period. So in your proposal, you should include your start and end dates as June 1st, 2025 to June 1st, 2027. Of course, if awards are made past this date, you will have 24 months from the date of the award. You won't be holden to that June 1st. That's just a placeholder that should be used. Okay, let's discuss the project phases. These phases include pre-departure, the overseas portion, and the post-travel or follow-up phase. So, for the pre-departure phase, you should allot at minimum 16 hours towards your pre-departure. Your pre-departure preparation should consist of conducting a series of lectures on the country of study. Advanced reading materials should also be sent to the participants several weeks prior to the pre-departure orientation. For the pre-departure orientation, we suggest that you include guidelines on the program itself, discussions on daily living and traveling in the host country, team building exercises, and of course, language training. You'll also want to include here as a long-term project your language assessment, your pre-test, if you choose to do so while in the United States. This is a sample pre-departure orientation agenda from a short-term project, but it's not too far off to what you would use for a long-term project. Keep in mind that everything you do for your proposal should be detailed. You'll see that word over and over throughout this presentation. Again, it should be 16 hours minimum. You will include your pre-departure orientation schedule as part of your appendices in your application. You could, again, I think I mentioned this on the previous slide, but include some team building, cultural do's and don'ts. We highly recommend including Title IX training through your institution, language training, of course, how and what to pack. And I have team building listed on here, again, only because, these individuals will possibly be spending an entire semester together abroad. And so it is absolutely essential that your group works together as a good team. Your overseas phase. This is where you should provide detailed information on your in-country itinerary. These details should include a daily itinerary, details about lectures, language studies, any cultural field trips or activities, debriefings and evaluations, any sort of travel arrangements or accommodations. Of course, the more information you provide in your project narrative regarding this, the more likely you are to receive a respectable score. Again, this is a sample of a short-term project, but I just like the way that this is designed and laid out for the readers. So I like to use this as an example. Again, make sure that your in-country itinerary is detailed. I have noticed recently, and I think it's a great idea, that projects have been allotting a day or so for jet lag, depending on which country they're traveling to and from what area of the United States they're traveling from. It is important to include some decompression time for your participants throughout the project. That could just, be maybe some daily journaling that they could do, or possibly meeting in small groups just to discuss the day or the week and just to digest the information that they're taking in. Of course, you'll want to include, again, cultural excursions, the language courses, and keep in mind that it's important to keep your itineraries flexible and easily adaptable, only because you can't control the weather or any other sort of things that may pop up and derail an itinerary. The in-country itinerary would also be uploaded as part of your appendices, which we'll talk about further in just a bit. Okay, you should include as part of the follow-up phase your program evaluation. We do have our own evaluation that we ask participants to do, but it's also good for you all to have a program evaluation that you can use. These evaluations, are used to ascertain the success of the project, and they help provide suggestion for improvements for future funding, future programs. You should include schedules for formal follow-up and dissemination, such as maybe workshops over the course of the next year, maybe presentations. Obviously, you'll need to be doing the post-travel language assessments, and including here any other future outreach activities, collaborations, networking, etc. Again, a sample post-travel timeline. It should be detailed. It should be included as part of your appendices. It should include your dissemination efforts, any conferences or workshops, and the language assessment portion. All right, let's talk about allowable costs for the GPA long-term program. Funding can be used for lodging and meals in the host country, your round-trip international travel, and as a reminder, all flights to and from the United States must be Fly America Act compliant. GPA funds can be used for travel within the host country, educational materials that are purchased in the host country, honoraria and meeting space in the host country, local administrative fees and services in the host country, and host country evaluators. You'll notice I said host country for every single one of those with the exception of the international travel. And that is because this grant does not provide funding for project-related expenses within the United States. This includes US-based salaries, pre-departure orientation costs, and any follow-up activity cost. These US-based expenses, they can be included as part of the applicant matching contribution or participant cost share. So again, GPA funds can only be used for your international travel and then any activities, lodging, meals, etc., in the host country. All right, most important part of the presentation, the selection criteria. These 8 criteria are going to be used to score your application. Please note that you can receive a perfect score of 100 points, and then you can earn an additional 6 points for the long-term competitive preference priorities, which I will touch on in just a bit. But let's go ahead and dive in with plan of operation. In fact, I'm going to go back real quick. I want you to notice the point allotments for each of these criteria. Plan of operation has 20 points, and you'll notice that the evaluation plan number 4 also has 20 points. These are your 2 largest point allotments. So just keep that in mind as we're talking about the selection criteria. So again, plan of operation, 20 points. Under the plan of operation, you should introduce the reader to your institution or organization by providing statistics and other demographic information that's relevant to the project. The need for the project, the selection of the country of study, and the objectives of the project should also be discussed. Your project design should be addressed. This generally includes the 3 project phases that we just discussed. Applicants should note how each phase of the project is to be carried out and supported under the plan of operation. You should also address how the management plan will link all of the project phases and how it will effectively operate under all project parties. Applicants should describe in which ways resources and personnel will be used in achieving the objectives of the project and include details of which key personnel will be responsible for vital project components and activities, and describe the how, why, when, and where project activities will take place. Please include a clear description of how the project will provide equal access and equipment for project participants, regardless of race, color, national origin, gender, age, or disability. Many applicants neglect to include this description, which can result in point deduction. Your next criteria is the quality of key personnel, which is worth 10 points. Here you should address the qualification of the U.S. project director, which includes their academic training, their field of expertise in the host country, the administrative experience, any languages they may speak, and other related qualifications. It is also very important to note the project director's time commitment to the project. Please provide expertise of any other support staff as well as their time commitment to the project. And you should also provide host country key personnel qualifications. These host country key personnel can include administrative staff, language teachers, assessors, and or evaluators. Please be sure to include their titles, project responsibilities, and their time commitments to the project as well. You should also show, as part of your institution's non-discriminatory employment practices, how employment from underrepresented groups will be without regard to race, color, national origin, gender, age, or disability. In the appendices section, you should upload abbreviated CVs, which should be no more than 3 pages for each key personnel. So your project director, your institution, your US-based key personnel, and your host country key personnel should all have your 3-page maximum CVs included in the appendices. Budget and cost effectiveness is the third. This is worth 10 points. You should demonstrate and justify that all allowable expenses presented are adequate and reasonable in today's market and necessary to accomplish the project's goals. You should discuss the project's cost effectiveness and share the relationship between the project's cost and the project's objectives. GPA programs do not require matching funds, but they are recommended if you can. In the budget narrative attachment, Applicants should upload a detailed itemized line item budget and an accompanying budget narrative. So both a line item and a budget narrative. That should clearly outline how your costs have been calculated and how they are necessary to your objectives. Remember, long-term projects have a 24-month performance period, so your budget should reflect those 24 months. Here's a sample budget sheet. I like to use this sample because it has this sort of 3-column approach. So you can see clearly which line items will be covered by GPA funds, institutional cost share, or participant cost share. Makes it very easy for the readers and myself to see exactly where money is being allotted, where it's being allotted, and where it's being allotted from as well. If you are unsure if a specific line is able to be covered by GPA funds, for example, a lot of times I will see folks will put visa and passport expenses under the GPA program funds, and that is not allowable. That is a US-based cost. So if you have a question about a specific line item and where it should go and who should cover it, or if it's allowable, et cetera, please let me know. I also have sample budgets that I can share. If you're interested in seeing other sample budgets, please let me know as well. I'm happy to distribute those out to you. Okay, evaluation plan, the other 20-point criteria. A well-designed evaluation plan includes clearly articulated goals, measurable objectives, both quantitative and qualitative, ways to collect data to show progress, formal evaluations at each phase of the project, informal evaluations as well, which can be, again, daily journaling or midpoint debriefs. To add credibility to your evaluation plan, we highly encourage using an external evaluator that is independent of your project. So possibly someone who is outside of your academic department or someone who's even external to your institution. Evaluation instruments that will be used to collect data during all project phases should also be included, and you can add these to your appendices. And a timetable should be included to highlight when key components of the evaluation plan will occur. That also can be added to your appendices. Applicants will be required to develop the proposed goals and project-specific performance measures and activities on the performance measure form. Here is an example of a GPA long-term PMF or performance measure form. There's also guidance on page 64 of the application package regarding evaluation and the PMFs. So we used how we measure the effectiveness of a GPA long-term program is by using the SCEPRA measure, which is the percentage of GPA long-term project participants who increase their reading, writing, and or listening, speaking foreign language score by 1 proficiency level. The the efficiency of the GPA long-term program will be measured by considering the cost per participant who increased their score by at least 1 proficiency level. All right, adequacy of resources is your next criteria. Here, you want to ask yourself what resources will be used to accomplish the project goals that have been outlined in the project. These resources should be, it should be clear which resources will be available both in the United States and abroad. You should indicate specifics regarding the use of facilities, supplies, and other resources to show they're adequate to carry out the activities in all phases of the project. In the appendices section, you should upload letters of support from both the United States and your host country institutions, individuals, and affiliates. Potential impact is worth 15 points. Here you should focus on the potential impact of the project on the development and improvement of the study of modern foreign languages and area studies on participating institutions of higher ed, public, and or private schools. You should describe the possible long-term benefits to your project participants, their colleagues and communities, and possibly even future students resulting from successful completion of the GPA grant. Okay, relevance is next. Relevance to institutional development, this is worth 10 points. Here you should discuss the missions, goals, and objectives of the applicant institution, as well as what it would mean to have a GPA grant. The need for overseas experience is our last criteria. And here you should discuss how the project will bring about a better understanding of the host country. Why is it important that this group of people conducted their project in this specific country? And what is the relationship to the project and the institution's program development and modern foreign languages and area studies? I've mentioned the appendices section a few times now. On grants.gov, they provide they'll provide you with an other attachments section, and here's where you would upload your pre-departure orientation agendas, your overseas itinerary, your follow-up activities, your evaluation timeline, the CVs of key personnel. Remember, those should be 3 pages maximum per key personnel, your letters of support, both from the United States and abroad, and your examples of evaluation materials, your project timeline chart, your project-specific PMF forms, etc. These are all optional, but I highly recommend including everything that is listed here, as it contributes to the strength of your application. Readers aren't just reading the narrative, they're looking at the entire application as a whole. And all of these pieces that you can add to your appendices are just extra support to bolster a strong application. Okay, I mentioned competitive preference priorities, or CPPs, earlier, and these are, in essence, bonus points to your application. GPA long-term applicants can earn 6 additional points by addressing the following competitive preference priorities. The first is CPP 2. You'll notice that we skip 1. 1 is a short-term CPP, so it's not applicable to long-term. And CPP 2 is for long-term, and that awards 2 points to projects that are from minority serving institutions. If you are unsure whether your institution is a minority serving institution, please feel free to contact me and I can help assist you with that. The other competitive preference priority is CPP 3, and this is for substantive training and thematic focus on priority languages. So applicants that propose GPA long-term projects that provide substantive training and thematic focus on any modern foreign language, with the exception of French, German, and Spanish, can earn these points. Keep in mind here, substantive training and thematic focus. If you are merely incorporating some language training, as part of your pre-departure orientation, for example, and not really including it for the rest of the project, well, you're not going to be eligible here. As remember, GPA long-term projects are language intensive. This doesn't mean that you can't submit an application for example, that would go to Mexico and for students to increase their Spanish skills. It just means you wouldn't be eligible for these points. So I hope that's clear. If not, again, you can always reach out and I'm happy to elaborate. All right, application tips. There's a bunch. So make sure, one of the big ones is be detailed. It's not on here, but I've said it a million times, and it is the one piece that I see every year that separates the successful applicants from the unsuccessful applicants, and it's the attention to detail. The second being, make sure you address all selection criteria, and I recommend that you do so in the order that is listed in the application package. Makes it very easy for readers to find the information rather than have them hunt around for the information. You should contact your references as soon as possible and prepare them. And by references, I mean those folks that you're going to be contacting for your letters of support. Make sure that you are clear and concise. Don't forget to adhere to the page number guidance, and our project narrative has a maximum page number of 40 pages, and I highly recommend you use all 40 pages. Assume those that are scoring your proposal know little about the topic. Of course, we do have peer reviewers who are world area experts, but you should not assume they know everything. Check carefully for grammatical errors. Remember, I mentioned this just a minute ago, that your entire application counts, not just your project narratives. So make sure you have all those pieces and parts added to the appendices section. Avoid professional jargon and have someone proofread or get a second set of eyes on your application. Can't hurt. There's one more thing actually I want to mention before I move on, and that is to submit early if you can. A lot of institutions, the project director is not the one that is the person actually submitting to grants.gov. And if the person submitting to grants.gov does not follow grants.gov's guidelines, then the application may not come through in full, or it may come through with an error message. So if you apply early, I can check in my system once I receive the application whether or not all parts and pieces are there. So if you have the ability to apply early, I highly recommend that you do so. If, for example, an application came in and there were error messages on some of the appendices and you applied early, I could let you know and you could submit another application and we would score, of course, the correct one. So that's why I mention this. Okay, getting organized. I do recommend viewing abstracts of past successful proposals. They are on our website. The 2024 abstracts at the time of this recording are not on the website, but I do have them available. If you would like to see them, just let me know. But 2023 and past are on the site. Of course, you will need to start developing your linkages internally and externally. It's important to review the FAQs on our website. Designate a management team with international and grants experience. Identify your institution's needs and want. Go ahead and get those requests for your letters of support so they have plenty of time. Review Federal Register and program websites for updated information. And then I can't stress this enough, but use me as a resource. It is what my job is. That's what I do. I have lots of sample materials. I have sample project narratives from previously successful projects. I have sample budgets, itineraries, you name it, I can find it if I don't already have it. So please use me as a resource. That is what I am here for. Trust me. I can also take a peek at, your narrative or your abstract ahead of time. I can't tell you if it's, what score you're going to receive. Of course, I don't score the applications, but I can say, hey, you're missing evaluation plan portion of your narrative or things like that. I'll say it again. Use me as a resource. You should register on grants.gov early to avoid any system issues. Backup save your written proposal to avoid any computer issues. And if your institution is not funded for this fiscal year, please consult the reviewer's comments. You can set up a meeting with me to discuss things and reapply. Do not wait to the last minute to submit, like I mentioned earlier. And the deadline for this year is January 21st, 2025 at 12 midnight. All awards or all applicants, will be notified via email no later than September 30th, 2025. Your scores and comments will be sent to you via, that should say, email. You will receive your scores and comments. And for those who are successful, be prepared to hit the ground running and start your program. I will be hosting at least one live Q&A session. I'm hoping to do two, but for now, I definitely have one scheduled for November 21st from 5 to 6 p.m. And I will be there just to answer your questions. So hopefully I'll see you there. There is a link currently is a link to that meeting on our website. And in case you are unfamiliar with our website, there is a QR code here on the screen that you can use to access the site. And there is my name and the GPA inbox should you have any questions. One last note, institutions are able to apply for more than one GPA grant. You can submit multiple long-term projects, multiple short-term projects, combination of long-term and short-term projects. It doesn't matter. But if you do choose to submit a short-term project, be sure to watch the short-term technical assistance webinar, as short-term applications have different requirements than long-term. Again, you can find the short-term webinar at the International and Foreign Language Education Office's YouTube channel. And please do not hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to the GPA Long-Term Technical Assistance webinar. I truly hope that it will help you in putting together a competitive application. I wish you the best of luck and look forward to seeing your proposal. Thank you.